Is ADHD a myth? I'm Steve Gunson, the author of Dragonborn, the mythology of ADHD. I'm flipping the script on ADHD from disorder to chaos embracing hero. Join me for 99 TikToks on reframing ADHD. Well, it depends on what you mean by myth. If you mean myth is something that's false or is a commonly held falsehood, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean myth is a story. In fact, the word myth comes from the Greek mythos, which means story. You see, back before the Enlightenment, myth was actually used to convey truth. A story wasn't considered false because it didn't tell you something that actually literally happened. A story was considered true or false depending on whether or not it gave you something useful to know about how to live life or not. You see, after the Enlightenment, the idea of truth became reduced down to what was literally true, like whether these Chips Ahoy cookies were sitting here or not. But you see, like those types of truths might be yes or no truths. Yeah, those Chips Ahoy cookies are really sitting there. But that kind of truth really isn't very interesting. It doesn't do anything to help us live our lives a certain way or not. On the other hand, stories or myths, like a story about a kid who ate too much Chips Ahoy and got sick, that's a story maybe teaching you that you shouldn't eat too much sugar. And as you live by such a story, maybe your life gets a little bit better. And so that story, that myth is true. And that truth is much more interesting than just the bare fact that the Chips Ahoy is sitting on the shelf over there. So after the Enlightenment, the idea of a story being true got kind of put on the shelf. Stories were considered true or false based on whether they really happened or not. Like if I told you a story that I brushed my teeth in the morning, maybe literally true, but not very useful. All right, so back to the question, is ADHD a myth? Well, if you're talking about myth meaning false, no, ADHD is not a myth. There's actually something that affects people in the way people say it does. But if you ask, is ADHD a myth? Like, is there a story? Then yes, it's true. So what is that story? What's the story of ADHD? What's the story of ADHD that defines our lives? Join me for the remaining TikToks to find out. All right, that's it. Follow me on social media or buy my book on Amazon. The link is in the video notes.